Good evening. Welcome to Fabric Time. We're going to start at 8:05 because I think that's what I put on the link in Facebook. So we got a couple minutes to kill before we get into the thick of it. As usual, as per our normal arrangement, except for last time, we have Eddie over here on the guitar. Smile for the fans, Eddie. Or not. Okay. So that's we got Eddie on the guitar. And this is Fabric Time, where we talk about, I don't know why we call it Fabric Time. We seem to talk about everything except fabric lately, but I guess that was what we started with, so we'll stick to it. I mean, we could call it Brent's Amazing Adventure Hour, but I don't know if that would be cool. What do you think, Eddie? Should we change the name? No? Fabric Time it is? Okay. We'll keep it at it. Or Eddie's Big Hair Day. Maybe we should call it that. No? Okay. So... Oh, what time is it? I guess it's 8:02, so I guess we could kill 2 or 3 more minutes. Just quick couple things. I haven't updated the classes on the website for a while. It's been a really crazy couple weeks here at the shop. As you can tell from my sexy voice, I've got a bit of a cold, so I've got that, Walter Cronkite thing going on. So I guess I could do the news. So I haven't updated the class on the website yet. A week tomorrow we have Tucker University. If you're interested, we still have some spots available for that, so just come on in and we'll get you set up. We also have a week from tomorrow, the 23rd of November, we are going to be rerunning Kimberbell. I haven't put it out there yet. I haven't got an email out. I haven't done Facebook posts. It's been a crazy couple weeks. As many of you know, I've got a second long arm running now, but we'll get to that in a second. Back to the main thing. Kimberbell, November 23rd. If you're interested, sign up. We need people signed up by Wednesday. If I don't have anybody signed up by Wednesday, we won't do it because I've got to plan it out. We got to get lunches for everybody and have everything planned. So if you're interested in doing that, sign up now. We do have, like I said, we have it limited to 6 people. All the machines and everything are here. We've run it twice already. It's been a blast, a really good time. Everybody seems to enjoy it. So we were going to do it one more time before Christmas, and then come spring we'll run a different one. I think we're going to be doing like a tea party thing. But anyway, every few months we'll be running Kimberbell. The last one we're going to run is November 23rd. If you are interested, sign up now. All right, what else we got to get into? Yes, back to the more important matters. Christmas is coming. If you need quilting done, we can get it done. I brought a second machine online earlier this week. A big thumbs up and a shout out to Nick and Donna for totally hooking me up with that. They they needed me to store their machine for the winter, and so we are. So we have doubled our production. We've been really right on top of quilting. So if you need quilting done for Christmas, bring it in. We'll get it done. Right now we're 2 weeks out. I'm hoping by the end of next week we should be about a week lag time. And if you're watching us from afar and you want to get some quilting done, if you send it to us, we do free return shipping. And like I said, turnaround time can be about a week. If everything goes as planned, figure that in. We do free, priority mail return shipping, so it's about a 3-day lag time. So it should be 2 weeks from the day you ship it out to the day you get it back, give or take a couple days depending on the mail. So if you want to do that, send it our way. We'll be happy to take care of you. Give us a call. That's what we're here for. And if you're watching, live chat, so I know you're out there because it gets kind of weird talking to the camera. And I would talk to Eddie, but you see how talkative he is. He just plays his guitar. So I got an awesome cold going on. Today, I guess it's officially 8:05, so we can officially start. Yay, welcome to Fabric Time. Today we're going to get into the tools of the trade because there's all sorts of things involved in quilting, and we're on YouTube now, and people Google things and YouTube things like, what do I need to learn about quilting? And so I thought that we would cover today what you need to start quilting. And if you'll notice, I guess you can't see from that camera, so we'll change to the angle here so you can see everything on the table in front of me. We've got rulers, we've got mats, we've got cutters. We're going to talk about all of this today. Why is that not autofocusing? Why? Anyway, that probably just really irritated somebody. So we're going to talk about the tools of the trade And now, this is by no means an exhaustive thing for quilting. I'm going to get into the basic things that I use every day or when I actually make a quilt, which I haven't done in a while. But I do quilt. Not only do I run the store, I actually quilt. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. Admittedly, I'm a messy quilter. But we're going to get into the tools that I use, and I'm going to explain a few things, probably get into a little bit on rulers, some of the things to look for in a ruler. But when it comes to quilting, you don't need a lot of tools. There is a lot of stuff out there to make it easier. Every year, it seems somebody's reinventing the wheel and coming up with a new tool. What I'm going to show you that I use, this has all been available probably for a decade now, at least. And it's very simple. It's all you need to quilt. It's three or four tools that I use to make just about everything. Now I could get, and like I said, you could use more tools depending on what you're doing. But the four that I'm going to show you is what I use for just about everything because it's my style of quilting. It's how I like. It's when I'm making something. These are what I use. There's other things you can use, other techniques, but I'm just going to show you kind of the basics. And I'm kind of a minimalist, so I don't have a large. I believe the term is. I know if you're listening and you have sensitive ears, you want to cover them up, but the term is notions whore. That's what I've heard them called, the people that collect every little gadget and doodad that you need. It's not a derogatory remark. If you're one of those, is what it is, but notions whore. I am not one of those. I'm a minimalist. So when it comes to tools, I keep it quite simple. And we're joined by Madgar and Jocelyn. Okay, we have some company out there in the nethers. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you're going to quilt, obviously you'll need fabric, but we're not going to get into fabric. That's the best part about it. We're going to talk about first, let's talk about cutting mats because you need to cut your fabric. Cutting mats come in a variety of sizes. This is the smallest size. It's a 12 by 18. If you have a 12 by 18, fantastic. I find this to be just about useless, personally. Now, they're great if you're going to travel and you're going to a class or something and you have limited table space. They will work, but I don't really find 12 by 18 mats to be that useful. What's nice about them is the price is just about is decent on them. I don't have a price on this one. Smaller mats are less expensive, and mats are made by a bunch of different people. We carry Quilter Select here in the store. Great mat for the price. It might be a little pricey when compared to like an Alpha or the mats you can pick up at like a Joann's or a Walmart. Keep in mind these are double-sided, so you can wear out one side, flip it over, and get the second side out of it. Now, the only mat that I've used that is better than the Quilter Select, or that I like better, I mean, there's a bunch out there. The cute cuts were nice, but once you get into the higher end mats, they're all fairly similar. The only one that I know that is better than the Quilter Select is going to be the Martelli mat. The Martelli mat is fantastic. However, it is super pricey, so I haven't carried them in the store because it's hard to justify the extra price. But if you're one of those people that, you got to have the best of everything and you want the Cadillac cutting mats, get a Martelli. They're really nice. They're really nice to cut on. They just feel different. You'll notice, too, if you look at our table, I've got a couple of mats here underneath everything. Is that zoomed in or is that zoomed out? Anyway, so we've got a Quilter Select here you can't see off camera. But this white mat here, that is, I don't know where we got it. It's not a bad mat. It will cut. It gets the job done. But if you come in the store sometime and you want to try it out, cut on this mat and then cut on a Quilter Select mat. You will feel the difference. You can cut on all mats. Some mats just feel better than others. Like I said, Quilter Select's what we carry. They work great. The 12 by 18, if you're just getting into quilting, don't waste your money on a 12 by 18. They're nice, a good secondary mat, but it's not going to be a good primary mat. What you want to get into is at least, nobody's saying anything fun yet. Do you have a 12 by 18? Danny? Because he said, OMG, that's me. You what? Anyway, so if you're going to get into quilting, you want to have at least an 18 by 24. This to me is a good place to start. Ideally, get a 24 by 36. That's what we use to cut up front. That's mostly what we have in the class. But if you're just starting out or you don't have a lot of space to work with, 24 by 18 is a good size to get into. Like I said, it's twice the size of an 18 by 12. What makes this mat nice is I will show you. I'm going to demonstrate what makes this mat so perfect. Let's switch review. So look what happens on an 18 by 24. Now, most people, when you have it on the table, you're going to have it like this, and you're cutting from here. Wait, let me change my camera angle. Is that better? Yes. Okay. I think you can get what I'm trying to say here. So when you're cutting front to back. That's how most people are going to lay this mat out. But look what happens if you've got a strip of fabric. I can't get the right angle. You'll notice that the fabric is, I'm going to make you all sick as you watch this, fabric doesn't fit on there. You notice that the edges, I'm going to come back over here, and hopefully you're all still with me. Go big or go home. That is correct. So if you'll notice on this mat, you see how if I wanted to cut a strip of fabric with this mat, it doesn't fit on the 18. What makes an 18 by 24 awesome is instead of cutting that way, you turn it and voila, look what you got. You see how your fabric fits. That is why I would say get an 18 by 24 if you are going to get into quilting to start. The 12 by 18 is is good for small, trimming stuff up. Trying to square up your blocks or whatnot, the 12 by 18 is fantastic, but the 18 by 24 is going to allow you to cut strips. So you want to get at least that, and like I said, turn it sideways. That gets you the width of fabric on there. Here, by turning the mat sideways, we can work that way instead of in this. And that's what makes a 36 by 24 so nice, is that when in this configuration, it's wide enough for fabric. So personally, what I use is like 24 by 36. That is the mat of choice for me, but as I said, an 18 by 24 is not a bad mat. But don't waste your money on a 12. If you don't have a mat, don't waste your money on. Get a. Why is that doing funky stuff? Don't waste your money on 12 by 18. Get an 18 by 24. So that's the mat. Questions? I'm sorry, Deb, that I made you dizzy. My camera work is questionable at best on a good day. So we're back to the tripod. So hopefully you're all back with me. So that's the mat. Like I said, 18 by 24, I like at least. Now, cutters. I just grabbed two cutters real quick for cutters. You've got your standard. Now, most cutters are a variation of this guy, which is a straight handle. It's not a bad cutter. It cuts fabric. That's what you want to do. I have a video out there explaining the difference in cutters and the ergo cuts. I'm not going to really get into it right now. My preferred cutter is this guy. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to him, you can't go back. This is a fantastic cutter. Again, Martelli makes a nice cutter. I prefer the True Cut ergo cut over the Martelli because there is a spring. The Martelli has a little spring guard that works fantastic, but that spring sometimes breaks. And it's also you have to either buy a righty or a lefty. This cutter is ambidextrous, and it'll give you the same ergonomics as a Martelli ergo cut. So I prefer the True Cut. This is True Cut, the same company that does like Grace. Any straight handle cover are really similar. Some of them have a little bit of a curve to the blade. Some of them have different guard situations. I prefer this. This will work just fine. But we're talking about my tools. This is what I use. All right. So that's the cutter. That's the mat. And I'm not going to get into how to cut on the mat. That's a whole other thing, but you cut on the mat. So far, so good? Yes, that is correct. Deb makes a great point. For arthritic carpal tunnel, what's really nice about this cutter is the way that you use it. If you look, when I grab it, how my wrist is staying straight here. That's a huge difference versus if I have to grab this, how everything's crooked. So this does make a difference if you are older or you have arthritis or you got carpal tunnel or any ailment in your joints. This is going to be more comfortable. There's a learning curve. It'll take a little bit to learn it because most people want to grab it down here to cut with it. Here, I'm going to switch. Most people want to grab it like that to cut. That is not how you hold this cutter. That won't work very well. You actually get on top of it like that. And you just got you take this knuckle here and you rest it right on that there, and that's how you cut. But that's, like I said, that's a whole nother video. But that cutter is nice, if I'm cutting kits, that's the one I look for, because at the end of the day, my whole arm will be sore if I'm using a straight handled cutter. We all get older, Deb. Everybody gets older. And then I love working at the shop because, somebody will come in, and especially now that it's getting cold, they're like, oh, my joints ache. Oh, this hurts and that hurts. And I think to myself, you'll paint a really good picture. You paint a horrible picture about getting older. It makes me worry. I watch y'all come in here and suffering, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, is that what I got to look forward to? Suffering. And look at that. Danny's on top of that. $28.95 for 45 millimeter true cut. Oh, well, we're talking about cutters. Cutter size, 45 millimeter is the preferred size. You can do 60. 60 is a fantastic size. It's great for straight lines. Cost of ownership is why I prefer 45. Blades for 45 are less expensive than a 60, and the difference in performance isn't enough to justify the extra on the 60. 60 is nice for thicker stuff, batting, that sort of thing. Again, a whole nother discussion. We could do a whole thing on just cutters, I suppose. Smaller cutters work great, but then you're limited to how thick you can go. Smaller cutters turn better. So a lot of people that do a lot of quilting and paper piecing and all that will have different size blades for different things. 45 millimeter is kind of the catch-all, jack of all trades size. That's why I prefer 45. The Ergo one costs $28.95, I think, if I'm understanding your question there, Jocelyn. Oh, so Jocelyn bought a nice machine from us the other day, and I pack it all up nice and neat, put it in the case for her, and she comes to pick it up, and I put it in the car, and I'm like, there you go, you have a brand new toy. And she brings it home, and she's all excited. Of course, she had to do things, and then I get a text from her. Was it Saturday night? I think it was Saturday. And she's like, where's the power cord? And I felt so awful. She had this beautiful new machine, and I forgot to put the power cord in there. So shout out to Jocelyn. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, I was diverted. How you doing over there, Eddie? Any comments? Any thoughts? He's good. Okay, Eddie's good. So we're going to keep going. So that's cutters. Moving on. Oh, notice my haircut. I got a haircut yesterday. Feeling really good, but you see, and then I look on I can see myself on the screen from there, and I cut a stylish figure when I look at myself on the camera, and then I see my little white patch thing. Well, I've had that since I was tiny, so I've always had white hair because I'm wise like that. All right. Anyway, off our diversion, back to what we were talking about. We talked about the mat. We talked about the cutters. Let's talk about rulers. The two rulers that I think every quilter absolutely should have is, now y'all can fight me on this. Everybody's got their preference, but you want at least a 24-inch ruler. I like the 24.5, but a 24 is fine. At least a 24-inch ruler lengthwise. And I like the 8.5. They make a 6.5. There's a 6.5 that's pretty prevalent, and an 8.5. I prefer the 8.5, but I am a giant man with humongous hands, and I am giant. So a giant ruler works really well for me. Some people, 6.5 works nice, but I would recommend you want at least a 24.5, or 24. It doesn't need to be 24.5. We're going to get in a half-inch increments here in a second. But you want at least a 24-inch ruler, and either 6.5 or an 8.5. That would be a must-have ruler. That's going to work great for stripping fabric. And if you'll notice, too, when you put it on your, see how it fits so nicely on the 24-inch mat that you have? So when you put fabric on there, again, this is why you're going to want a 24-inch ruler. You'll notice that it is just ever so slightly bigger than how your fabric comes off the bolt, because you're about 22 inches from here to here. That's a 24-inch ruler, gives you a little bit of extra space. So that's why you want a 24-inch, is so that you can strip things. That's a must-have, 24-inch. Now you have all these other rulers that you can get into, and you have different rulers for different things. I don't really use these that often. I have all these open in the store, and when people come to sew, they use all sorts of them. I will be honest, 9 times out of 10, this is all I'm using. Every now and then, like a t-shirt quilt or something, I'll go find a square if I'm squaring something up. But even squaring stuff up, I tend to use my 8.5 by 24.5 ruler. I tend to use this for everything. Like I said, I'm a minimalist. I like to keep things simple. This is my preferred ruler. I use it for just about everything. I do use my square ruler sometimes because I have them, so I'll use them. But if I didn't have them, I wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't hurt my feelings any. I could get by without them. Oh, I saw a new notion that connects rulers to one big one. Do you have this? No, I don't. I'm sure I could get it if you wanted to. I have seen over the years interesting different concepts in rulers where they connect rulers and rulers come apart, and you could take like two rectangles and connect them and make them into a square. There's a whole set that was kind of neat. My mom had for a while. Mileage will vary on that. Some people love them, some people don't. What I found with those, what you run into is when the two rulers come together, unless it's a really good system, you might get a little bit of a jog. Here, let me do this. Talking about. We'll use these two here. So, if you had two rulers that connect together, what you run into is where they meet up. The system has to be really good, because if you're off just a hair, you try and cut and your blade hits that. There's nothing like hitting the edge of the ruler with your blade and nicking it, which inevitably you'll do. You put a brand new fresh blade in your cutter, and then you'll hit the edge of a ruler and you'll have a nick in it, and you'll be like, dang it. And you'll be swearing and you'll be mad, and but you won't change to a new blade because you just put that blade in there. And even though it's nicked, you got to get at least a week out of it before you change it. And then you every time you cut, you have that nick, and you swear at it, and you hate it, and honestly, just change the blade. So I'm going to say is change the blade. I've been there, I've lived that, and sure, blades are what, $4 a whack. It sucks, but when you nick it, just change it. I've tried to justify. I can't change it. I just put it in and it's nicked. I want to get more use out of it. No, change it. You'll thank me later. But yes, they do make different things that connect rulers. Again, like I said, they're always reinventing the wheel with a lot of this stuff. That's my preferred 8.5. And like I said, different sizes. Now, what I do want to talk about real quick. Wow, we're getting the 22-minute mark. If I blank out for a second, it's the typical, the camera screwed up and I got to reset it. So don't sign off if it goes black. I'll fix it real quick. What you're going to notice here, come back here. This here is a 12-inch ruler. This is a 12.5. And people that don't quilt and people that aren't aware of this get irritated. Why do you want a 12.5-inch ruler? Because that's a weird measurement, 12.5 inches. Well, the reason that 12.5 inches will outsell a 12-inch ruler probably 3-4 to 1. Do you know why? Because who out there watching knows about seam allowances? What kind of seam allowance? How big do you want your quilt block? If it's going to finish at 12 inches, how big does that block have to be? I'll give you all a minute to comment. If you want your block to finish at a 12-inch block, or heck, even a 9-inch block, we'll stick with 12 because we have a 12-inch ruler here. So if you have a block that you want to finish at 12 inches, how big does that block have to be before you sew it? Come on. Somebody give me an answer so I can continue on. This is audience participation. I know you're all out there watching this because I see the comments. If it finishes at 12 inches, how big does it have to be before you sew it? That's right, then. You nailed it. 12.5. Which is why most every square ruler has a 1/2-inch increment. Because if you want to finish at 12 inches, it has to start out at 12.5 for your 1/4-inch seam allowance. So if you're trying to square up quilt block, a 12-inch quilt block, a 12-inch ruler is completely useless for that. Because people want to throw a square on a 12-inch block to square it up. They'll drop it on there. 12-inch ruler does not square up a 12-inch block, because if you want it to finish at 12 inches, it has to be 12.5. So you get a 12.5-inch ruler. Now, I'm going to let you in on another, which is interesting on these rulers. So most rulers will do this nowadays. So here's a Creative Grids. Here's a Quilter Select. It does the same. It's going to have the same thing I'm about to show you. And I'm going to demonstrate this on the Cute Cut ruler because the Cute Cut actually has it labeled a lot better. What you're going to notice is your grid increments. I don't know if you can all see that. Hopefully you can. Let's get these out of the way. So your grid increments. Your grid is every inch. So if you start on this side over here, 1 inch from the edge is a mark. 2 inches from the edge is a mark. What the awesome thing about the half-inch rulers, so this is a 6.5, is if you start off the other edge, that mark is half-inch off the edge. That's 1.5. That's 3.5. That's 2.5. 3.5. And now Creative Grids was good. Do I have creative? I don't know if there's a Creative Grids. Creative Grids is interesting. If you really look at them carefully, they have them marked. So you'll see they're marked at 10.5 because that's 10.5 from the half-inch side, whereas the 3 is 3 inches from there. So you have to have it flipped over so the 3 is right side up. So Creative Grids did a really good job of marking their rulers, but it's really nice to have that half-inch side on one side, because how many of you ever have to cut 2.5-inch square, 2.5-inch strips, 2.5-inch strips? Just really popular to cut 2.5-inch strips. Now, how many of you carefully line your fabric up? Let's go back to this. Cut a 2.5-inch strip, right? Oh, sure. Do I have it open? Oh, wait, hold on a second. We'll use this one. So you're going to cut a 2.5-inch strip. So you get out your mat and you carefully line your strip up to be on the edge of the mat. And then you come out to 2.5 inches and you cut 2.5 inches up. And I realize now that I'm in the wrong direction. So there's the edge. Come 2.5 inches here, and you're going to cut 2.5 inches. That's kind of a pain in the butt. And then you've got to find the half-inch increments on your mat, which aren't marked very well. What's interesting on a ruler, most rulers that are in half-inch increments, where's your 2.5-inch mark? Your 2.5-inch mark from that edge is right there. It's a solid line. Makes it a whole lot easier to see than if you're trying to find that midpoint here. So the half is a nice feature on a ruler. So people think, oh, I want a 12-inch ruler. No, you don't. You want a 12.5-inch ruler. 12.5, 12. That half-inch makes all the difference. It's a lot easier to work with. That's why they make a 6x24 that a lot of people seem to like. I don't like it. I would rather have the 6.5 or the 8.5. There is a 6x24 and a 5x24. I like that half-inch increment so that I can flop my ruler around and have solid cut lines where I'm cutting. So that's rulers. And there's one last tool. How's everybody doing? I've got 8 of you watching. Well, probably only 7 because I know that Danny's going to have 2 computers open because, she's a hardcore fan. So we're going to get it. Hold on one second. Let me reset the camera and we'll get into the last thing. All right. We're back. Okay. Before I sit to sew, if I'm going to make something, is 6.5-inch easy angle. This is the greatest tool, and it's been around forever. You can pick them up at Joann's. You can pick them up at Hobby Lobby. Probably Hobby Lobby. I don't know. But I know you can pick them up at Joann's. Pick them up on the internet. I sell them here. I'll be happy to sell you one. But this is a superb, fantastic, awesome tool. In and of itself is a whole other video. It comes in 3 sizes. Smallest size, 4.5, which I tend to use this more than the 6.5 because oftentimes I'm using this to do bindings. But this is the tool you use to make half-square triangles. 90% of all quilts are just squares and half-square triangles and rectangles. This makes a half-square triangle very easy. And I'll demo this some other time, but this is the tool that I prefer, an easy angle. There's a bunch of different techniques to make a half-square triangle. Easy angle makes it easy. It comes in 3 sizes, 4.5, 6.5, and a 10.5. I like the 6.5. If you're only going to buy one, buy the 6.5 because it will do everything the 4.5 will do, and it gives you 2 more inches. I do tend to use this more because I will often use this for bindings, for putting bindings to miter bindings together and to finish bindings to get that nice finish. But the 6.5 can do that. It's a little easier to do the 4.5. 10.5 is nice, but the problem with the 10.5 is that if you look at a 10.5, notice on the bottom edge here, you don't have the markings less than 2.5 inches like you're going to have on the 4.5 and the 6.5. So you're going to lose the 2.5 inch mark. You won't be able to do half square triangles less than inches if you have just a 10.5. So if you're only going to have one, get the 6.5. If at some point you're probably going to want them all because they get you. I use them a lot for everything. And what you're going to find, what I find interesting about Notions, is this just gets reinvented every 3 or 4 years. Somebody comes up with a different version of it that looks better and better marketing, and everybody buys it. But this is the original, and I always come back to this. I love this one. It reminds me of the binding tool. Hold on a second. The binding tool. Do I have one here? Do I have a binding tool? No, I don't have the binding tool. All right. I don't know if you all remember, as I leave the little screen blank, I was going to show this. I don't know if you all remember, a few years back, my mom went to a quilt market. They came back with this little piece of acrylic that was like 2.5 inches wide, and it had a little angle on it, and it had a little picture of a binding, and it showed you how to do bindings. And it was like, oh, this is the greatest tool ever. All that tool was a version of the easy angle that did less than the easy angle does. This did everything that tool does and more, but it wasn't as cute and wasn't as cool, so we had to sell a bunch of the binding tools. I have the mini binder. Yes, somewhere is the mini binder. That is correct, Danielle. We do have the mini binder somewhere, and I could go find it, but all I'm saying, and this is what makes me an awful salesman, you're going to come in and try and buy a mini binder off me, and I'm going to say, buy a 4.5 inch easy angle. It's way better. It will do everything the mini binder does and more. And what's more is I can show you how to use this. That mini binder, that binding tool, I look at, I'm like, why? Sure, it has a picture on it, and sure, there's a great demo for it. But are you ever going to remember it? No, this you'll remember because the concept's the same, just different uses. So those are basically what I do. Now, like I said, there's lots of other tools out there, but my 3 tools is going to be at least an 18 by 24 mat. I like the Ergo Cut. Yeah, Ergo Cut by True Cut. And you can, I actually going to replace this because it's coming off the back. And an 8.5 by 24.5 inch ruler. Those are my preferred tools. Like I said, there's other stuff that I'll use on occasion. And don't forget the easy angle. There's other stuff I'll use on occasion, but those 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 things, 4 things. Those 4 things are what I use all the time. And like I said, I will do other things depending on what I'm doing. But there's that. The only other tool that you may be interested in if you're trying to like build the perfect basic repertoire of tools, I think I did paper piecing once. Didn't really excite me, didn't do much of it. But if you are into paper piecing, you do want to get an add-a-quarter ruler. That would be the only other thing that I would add to this basic setup, and you'll have everything you'll ever need for quilting. They'll be easy. I mean, like I said, there's always more you can do with more tools if you like tools. I mean, who doesn't love a good gadget? But this is the basics of all you really need to get started and to be successful. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I had for today. And a bunch of you are watching. Any questions? Anything you want to throw at me? I'll do a quick question and answer because, I'm here and I got music. What are you playing? That's pretty good. You go on Bandcamp, you can download Eddie's newest album, In the Catacombs. It's actually pretty good. I'm not just saying that because I'm his dad. It's actually pretty good. Maybe I'm saying it because I'm his dad, but it is still pretty good. I even paid for it. Now he's a professional musician because I paid for his album. Anyway, so that's everything I have for tonight. Like I said, if you're interested in Kimberbell is a week from Saturday. If you don't have an embroidery machine, you don't need one. We have all of that here. Just come hang out, spend the day. You'll go home with 3 really cool projects, and it's a lot of fun. Admittedly, you might want to go home with a machine when you're done, but you don't have to. You can come hang out and have some fun with us. That's going to be a week from Saturday. We have Tucker University tomorrow, and I think that's everything. And I've rambled on for a half hour now. Sometimes I wonder why. I appreciate you all sticking through it with me. I don't know how painful it is on the other end of the camera. But you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna rub my belly. My brother's watching. My brother does this, and everybody knows exactly who he's. Anyway, I got to stop because I'm gonna get in trouble. So I'm rambling now, and I'm rubbing my belly like my brother does when he imitates a certain uncle that I have that is just fantastic, and it's making me happy just thinking about it. Which is probably why someday I'm going to move to Idaho so that I can watch my brother do his impersonations. But you don't have to worry. It's going to be a while before that. Like I said, also, quilting. We are caught up for quilting for Christmas. If you got Christmas quilts you need done, bring them in. We can get them done. I'm guessing we are probably going to be able to take quilts right up to about a week after Thanksgiving. I don't want you to wait that long. But if you do, we can probably still get it done for Christmas. I would encourage you, if you need a Christmas quilt, get it in sooner than later. But we are caught up, and we're pumping them out as fast as they're coming in. So if you do have quilts you need done, bring them in. We'll be happy to do them. If you don't have quilts you want to get done, you just want to buy a quilt, we have a bunch of samples that, you know, I got to kind of clean up our mess here. So come in and we'll make you some deals on. And all quilts that we sell come with the You Made It guarantee. If they ask us, we tell them you made it. All that being said, I thank you all for watching. I'm at that point where I'm rambling, and I'm not seeing any questions come up. Yes, Deb, I'm glad that you learned something. Sometimes I wonder, I don't know what's rattling around in my brain for information sometimes. And we'll probably do a future one just on the use of the easy angle. And like I said, I'll see if I can't find a link for the, I did do a cutter video on the different cutters and what's nice about the different cutters. That was back when I edited videos, so it actually is not that bad. And then I just decided I hated editing, so that's why we go live and just post what you see is what you get, because I just don't want to watch myself. You know, all this is a mess. All right, tomorrow's class is going to be Tucker University, which uses the Deb Tucker tools. I want to say she's in the wing. I don't know what she's doing. Admittedly, I'm remiss, and if Bonnie's watching this, she's going to be mad at me because I forgot what we're doing for a tool tomorrow. It has been a crazy couple of weeks with the Christmas season and everything else. Anyway, all that being said, like I said, I am just continuing to ramble, and we have hit the 37-minute mark. So with that, I'm going to say good night because it's late, and I want to go home and get some sleep because I got to come back here tomorrow morning and do this all over again. Thanks for watching. And to bring you out, we're gonna let Eddie bring you out. Are you gonna smile for the people, Eddie? Look at those luscious locks. And with that, we'll end the streaming.